seek to be led and guided by the Honorable Minister. I request the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, to kindly address the congregation.
Thank you. Thank you for a very kind introduction. Seated on the dais with me, Chairman, Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, and the Secretary, Department of Space, Government of India, Dr. V. Narayanan. Also Head of InSpace, Dr. Pawan Goenka, Mr. Mauri from IAF, Dr. Joseph from ESA, Excellencies, esteemed heads of different agencies, delegates, luminaries, and also some of the illustrious astronauts who are attending this three-day meet. Ladies and gentlemen, I think my first thought is that this is a proud moment for ISRO, proud moment for the Astronautical Society of India, and proud moment for India indeed, as Dr. Narayanan was mentioning, to host this conference, GLEX 2025, in the Indian capital of New Delhi. And therefore, it's my pleasant responsibility and duty to welcome you all on behalf of the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, on my own behalf, on behalf of the Government of India, and also on behalf of the 140 crore people of this country. And I'm also glad to share with you that we have a huge participation in this three-day international meet with about 36 participating nations and agencies from across the world. And the number of abstracts is also remarkably high. If you see from an academic point of view, it's more than 1,000 abstracts we have received from over 57 countries across the world. And before I say anything else, let me also bring it to your notice that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was keen to be here amongst us, but some of the preoccupations have held him back. But he has been kind enough to spare time and record a video message which would be played before you soon after I finish speaking. But more than that, this personal indulgence and preference given by the Prime Minister of India also reflects the highest priority that the head of state gives to the space sector, which has, in fact, over the last 1 decade or so, pushed India forward as one of the frontline nations of the world. And for India of 2025, sky is no longer the limit. And the result of this is visible before all of us. India today has about 290 MOUs with over 60 countries of the world, and these collaborations are at an equal level. There are as many as 443 satellites which have been launched from different countries, including the US and the European countries. In fact, from 34 countries across the world. And when I say the indulgence and the personal prioritization given by the head of the state, the Prime Minister of India, I think it would be evident when I point out that out of these 433, as many as 398 foreign satellites were launched only in the last 1 decade, which is more than 90%. There have been, over the years, ever since ISRO was founded, 563 launches, for which the chairman deserves to be complimented. But again, the statistics point out that out of 563, as many as 457 have been launched, or these launches have happened only in the last 10 years during the present regime, which of course is also a kind of reflection of the prioritization given by this government to this sector, realizing its futuristic value, also its potential to contribute to the overall economy of the world globally, and of course, that of India as well. And we have a wide range of satellites in place. We have the Earth observation satellites, we have the communication satellites, we have the NAVIC satellites, and of course the science research satellites. And this, I hardly need to reiterate, has been because of a huge, huge impetus at the political level, at the level of the policymakers, to the experts and the workers in the Department of Science, in the field of science. And today, of course, as all of us know, is an evidence-based era. And I think what I'm saying would be evident to you when I just request you to recall some of the firsts that have been recorded by India in the last few years. Chandrayaan-3, the first in the world to have landed on the south pole of Moon. Even though our journey started late, the space journey of India started late, but we have caught up in a big way, and I believe also beautifully. Our Aditya L1 and the Langerhans, also among the first of its kind. Our Mars mission was successful in the very first attempt. And the discovery of the H2O, or the water molecules, on the surface of the Moon, also the first. And our SpaceX docking and undocking, which the Chairman ISRO was referring in his address, is also among the first. And very recently, we registered the record of launching 104 satellites in a single go, in a single launch. Which, in other words, I have the confidence to say that India today is no longer only waiting for cues to happen, it also is in a position to offer cues to others, to its partners, to its collaborators. And this has been possible because this government, the Modi government, has done everything to provide an enabling milieu for the space missions, for the space programs, for the space projects, and also given or allowed the freedom to our space scientists to fly as high as they want or as high as they can. On the one hand, there has been a budget hike of more than 139% in the last 1 decade, and that's just the government budget. But more than that, that is not the only resource pool. It is this government which, just about 3-4 years back, took a very courageous decision of opening up to the private players. Also, to allow private collaboration domestically as well as internationally, and also allow foreign direct investment. And we have a very structured mechanism in place to facilitate such public-private collaborations. We have an interface called InSpace, which does it very methodically, almost as scientifically as the space science works. And the face of that agency, InSpace, is sitting before you in the form of Pawan Goenka, whom you heard just now. And I'm sure this is a model which is worth emulating in other sectors by others as well, because it has emerged as a success story in itself, which again is evident from the fact that before this experiment was initiated, we had just one-digit startups. Today we have more than 300, just in about 3 or 4 years. And some of our first generation startups are now entrepreneurs making good fortune for themselves and also doing the kind of work which is of, or which can be described as that of global potential. Our space economy, as of today, is somewhere around 8 to 9 billion US dollar. But the pace of growth is not only progressive, but it's also increasing. And therefore, we have the confidence and courage to say and to make the projection that in the next 8-10 years, the space economy of India is likely to grow as much as 5 times to almost 44 or 45 billion US dollar, which, as I was saying in the beginning, the space economy is going to be an important component of the overall economy or the overall growth story of India, and thereby also the global growth story. We have had ambitious launches in the past. We have ambitious launches lined up for new future. Chairman ISRO was trying to spell out some of them. It was a very providential coincidence. 2024 ended with SpaceX, our docking and unlocking mission, and 2025 began with the 100th launch. And therefore, I think the heavens also are blessing us for more and more success stories in this domain. And among those which we are lined up for the next few months, we have the US satellite for mobile commitment, we have the ambitious NICER, the NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar, and then, of course, the test flights for the human space mission are in the process. By 2027, probably by the first half, we hope to send a human into space. The mission has been very appropriately named Gaganyaan, as the chairman was mentioning. We have also been very cautious of striking a synergy between the traditional Indian knowledge and the most modern technology while keeping the ethos alive and still not depriving ourselves of everything modern that is happening around. Then, of course, followed by that, we have the Chandrayaan-4, which would again be a great experience for the missions to come in the later years because it's multiple dockings, undockings, etc. Then we have the Venus mission, and of course, a Bharat space station or International Space Station by India itself by the year 2035, and finally, an Indian human being on the surface of Moon by 2040. But immediately, of course, we have this International Space Mission where one of our astronauts, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, is already there. And most likely, if not by the end of this month, maybe around the first week of June, the launch would happen, which again is an evidence of the potential and the capabilities and the capacities of Indian space actors. But I think what is also unique about India's space program is that we are no longer confining ourselves only to the launching of rockets, which was and which has been a criticism from certain quarters of cynics for several decades. We have hugely qualified in using space technology in developmental works, in infrastructure works, whether it's flood and disaster management. Today, India, by virtue of its space technology capacities, is providing disaster warnings and also disaster assessments to almost all the neighboring countries in Southeast Asia. We are also involving the same technology in a huge way in housing and urban development. We have a very ambitious program called Amrut to develop smart cities, 500 townships, and space technology is hugely contributing the planning of that program. Similarly, in the railway sector, in the agriculture sector, because India has a huge agriculture sector, and we have very optimally utilized the space technology. not only in improving our crop quality, but also about assessing the soil quality and so many other related factors. Then, of course, in the health sector, considering the kind of heterogeneous topography and geographical conditions that India has to deal with, telemedicine, and also the space technology inputs have been utilized for the benefit of the mankind and the ailing. In governance, we have, again, space technology in a variety of ways, also in collecting our real-time, foolproof utilization certificates. We are also now using it, along with the drones, in the mapping of farms and lands, which again I think is a success story, which has been named by the Government of India as the Swamitva program. And before I conclude, I must make a reference to the exhibition also, which is going on along with this conference. I didn't have enough time because it was already the time for inaugural session. But as chairman was mentioning that I have to travel abroad, incidentally that travel stands cancelled for certain reasons. And therefore I was telling him I would have enough time to go around. And why I'm saying so is that I would also appeal to you all to go around, because I think it's a must for everyone to visit. And the most beautiful part of it is that we have the startups and the industry at a single point waiting for you all. And therefore, if you ask me in a single sentence, what does this GLEX 2025 stand for? Because I have been a part of this conference circle for almost 3-4 decades, I would sum up in single sentence. This conference aims to advance India's vision at 2 levels. A, for Bharat, the vision of Viksit Bharat, and B, for the world, the vision of Vishwa Bandhu Bharat, which in other words says that we are not going to act as big brother, we are going to be equal brothers, helping, collaborating with the rest of the mankind, the rest of the population on this planet. And the end, I'm sure all the delegates are being looked after well. If there's any lapse, please don't hesitate reaching out to me directly. Dr. V. Narayanan is an academically driven, passionate organizer. But I'm sure during this 3-day prestigious summit, when he cares enough to ensure that it ends up as a good food for thought, he would have also made arrangements for a sumptuous food for the gut. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, sir, for your very inspiring address and highlighting the ambitious space programs of India, as India is not just reaching out for the skies and the moon, but becoming the guiding star for the world, as you said.